What's up, guys? We're into week 2 already as there's a game tonight, Houston and Cincinnati. Now, the Eagles, this is the first episode I'm releasing since their win. Huge win over the Redskins. Very happy about it. Went in there and did what they had to do. And now they move on to Kansas City. So, it's going to be a tough game, and it really is. And, I'm sure, Thursday, obviously, it's Bird Buzz, so I'm sure we have questions. I haven't looked at them. So I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna check them out. I saw we had some. I just I like doing the questions improv style where I give my answer on the spot, so it really comes out raw. But however, there's a game tonight, and that signifies week 2 is officially started. So I'm not gonna spend too much time right now talking about what happened last week. Looking on to Kansas City will be the focus, and there's a game tonight between Cincinnati and Houston. So It kicks off the whole week too. Now the NFC East, I think everyone's got a pretty tough game this week, and the Giants and the Redskins are 0-1, so they both really, really desperately need to get those wins, as well as both the teams playing tonight. And I think that's why it'll be hopefully it'll be a tight game because both teams are desperate and they're both 0-1, and I think that desperation, teams will come out and fight, and that's what I look for in the Giants and the Redskins this week. As far as the Cowboys, they got a pretty convincing win over the Giants after being swept by them last year. It looked like it was nothing. And with Ezekiel Elliott in the lineup, with Dak Prescott, Dez Bryant, Jason Witten on offense, and that offensive line, they have so many ways to beat you on offense. And I think that Denver's got their work cut out for them this week. I think Dallas, on the road, it's going to be tough for Dallas, but I think they have just as good a chance to beat a defense like that as anyone in the NFL. So that's my thoughts on the games moving forward this week. So I'm just going to get into the questions now. So let's check it out. From That Ninja Zay, he asks, how true is the rumor about Jim Schwartz? Now, obviously you've heard report come out. Jim Schwartz is trying to upend Doug Peterson for his coaching position. Now, I'm sorry, but when you break that down, what are you really saying? Okay, so you're saying that so let me ask you this: how does a coach get a promotion, or how does anyone in a job get a promotion? Do a really good job, right? So is it fair to say that all coaches are trying to upend their head coach necessarily, because everyone's trying to do the best job they possibly can? I mean, what else can you do? That's the only thing you can focus on to get to that next level, to get to that promotion. So I think every coach in the NFL, every coordinator is looking to get that promotion. I think anyone in any job is looking to get that promotion, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's some type of spin that you can put on it that he's trying to upend Doug Peterson, because technically, yes, that's true, but it's not. It's coming across as, oh, he doesn't like Doug Peterson, or him and Doug Peterson might not get along, or something of that nature, because it's like they're trying to look for something to cause tension between the two, when in reality, Doug Peterson knows Jim Schwartz of course he wants a head coaching job. He knows Frank Reich would like a head coaching job, so it makes him even go harder. So it's like, even John DeFilippo, the QB coach, you could say that about him. He wants a promotion. He wants to be an OC or a head coach. So everyone, you're always pushing that person in front of you. So it's not a negative thing. It's not what the media tried to make it. I mean, they tried to let you fill in the blanks, and that's what they wanted people to think is, oh, Jim Schwartz, he's trying to get this head coaching job, so maybe, but like you think about it, it's like, when you read that, you have to think like, well, what do you mean he's trying to get his head coaching job? Like, so is he in the meeting rooms telling him like, I'm coming for your job, Doug? Like, it's not causing anything. You can assume that about anyone. So that's the whole point, is that, of course, Jim Schwartz is looking for a promotion, but that doesn't, it's not a rumor. That's every coach in the league. So, it's a really reactionary league. So owners get rid of guys and find new guys really quickly in this league, and if they're not winning. So Doug knows his job isn't safe. No one's job is ever safe, but that's the media's job, and they're just creating those articles to put pieces together to give different perspectives, and that's really what it is. So thanks for the question, Zay. That's a good question, but that's my thoughts on it. So it's Miles asks, can Carson have a similar game against better defenses like Chiefs and Giants? Well, I've seen him dodge tacklers and do all that. I mean, I think that he's done that against some of the better defenses. He did it against the Giants last year, in that last game especially. And I think what we're seeing is Carson Wentz getting better. And I think that if there's a defense, I think each time he plays a defense that's on the level of a team like the Chiefs or the Giants or the Seahawks, I think every time he plays one of those defenses, he's going to get better. Because even if he has, he'll see, you need to get him seeing all of this stuff. That's what makes, the experience and it come easier the next time. When a good measuring stick for Carson Wentz will be this year's game in Seattle to just see. I mean, for the whole team, it's a measuring stick because you saw how they went in there and got beat up last year, and seeing if they can maybe take a stride toward challenging an elite team, doing something as far as winning a game against an elite defense. And I think that the Chiefs and the Seahawks are two examples. I think that the Giants, they won last year against them. So I think you're seeing the evolution of a team and of a quarterback, and it's really fun and exciting. So to answer the question, yeah, I think he could have a similar game against an elite defense like the Chiefs and the Giants and the Seattle Seahawks. But does that mean he's going to? I mean, that's yet to be determined. I think that of all those games, of course, he'll have a crazy game against at least one of them. But it's about learning still. So he has that capability, but you don't win every battle, and at the end of the day, you just have to judge on a week-by-week basis of how he plays, and he's got the Chiefs and the Giants coming up right now, so I mean that's a really good question for right now, and I think that you'll see at least one of these two games. You'll see Carson Wentz play really well. You'll see the offense, I think, overcome some of the struggles that those defenses can present. And I think you'll see a team get better over these next 2 weeks. And I believe at worst we split these games and go 1-1. I really do. I think that we can win one of these two games at the least. And I think that the Giants is that game. I think the Chiefs is going to be tough, but we'll see what happens. Steve May. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Miles asks again, and will Doug ever commit to the run? Now, I think that the run game was getting very, very beat up in Washington. Now, I've said this multiple times. Doug Peterson's Eagles last year were 10th in the NFL with 27 rushing attempts per game. The Dallas Cowboys were first in the NFL with 30 attempts per game. So, I mean, the margin of carries themselves aren't that much, but 1 to 10, I mean, we were still in the top 10. We were 10th, the Eagles. So I think that you have to understand that it's a passing league. And I think that, yes, Doug Peterson did somewhat abandon the run week 1. It was a weird game, honestly, Wentz throwing those big plays. But he put the ball in Wentz's hands, and he delivered a good enough performance to win us the game. And the defense played really well. So, you just have to go off how the game, kind of flows and plays out. And I definitely think that that they will run the ball and balance it out. But you have to understand that, this notion that they haven't done that. I mean, it's evidenced in the carries last year, 27 attempts per game, 10th in the league. So, I mean, that speaks for itself. So I think that the criticism on Doug's play calling on a week-to-week basis will come, but sometimes it's just kind of like, people just want something to say, and things aren't always going to be perfect. So we'll see about it. Steve Mayo asks, we had 3 OTs active against the Redskins on Sunday, and before Jason Peters got hurt, we were running formations with all 3 OTs on the field. Don't get me wrong, I like the extra O lineman on the field, but if someone gets hurt, we are screwed. Why doesn't Doug ever think? Yeah, that's a good that's a good question. They did have Big V in there as like an extra tight end. You do need more offensive tackles, and then Jason Peters did get hurt, and it was it was bad to see Big V in there. That's the Steve hasn't been on the show in a while, but he's the other guy on the show, and I told him, I was like, I need some questions from you at least if you're not going to be here. So that is a good question, and I laughed because of how long it took to explain that. And it's funny that like I thought he might ask like a joke question, but that's actually a really good question. It's a good observation, and I think that when you look at it, you're thinking, geez, I mean, 3 offensive tackles and 4 running backs active. I mean, that's maybe it should go the other way around, but yeah, we need to keep our offensive tackles healthy, and putting all 3 of them on the field at once is like, geez, like yeah, you're putting all 3 of them at risk. What if 2 of the guys got hurt? So it's like then you would have been out of them. So you need to keep Big V fresh, keep him on the bench, and if he needs to come in, he can play. But I don't know, maybe he was bracing for. Maybe here's like a little devil's advocate. Peterson was getting him those early reps, so when he had to come in, he wouldn't be cold. So that kind of worked the other way around too. But good question. Also, and Steve then asks, also, how good is Timmy Jernigan? His presence made a huge impact on Sunday. I think that's very true. I think that you saw a guy getting doubled, getting chipped, got a big sack. He's active. He's really, really active in there with Fletcher Cox, and I think it's a lot better fit than Benny Logan was. And I think that though it was a hard decision for them to make to move on from Benny Logan because he was such a good guy and a good player and just perfect guy to have in the front 4 of your 3-4 defense, or your 3-4 defense. I think as a nose tackle, he was better as that, I believe, and I think they recognized that, and they were able to get a guy in Jernigan who fits more of the Jim Schwartz style. That turned guys like Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley into pretty productive pass rushing defensive tackles. Suh obviously had the tools, but he's got a very good duo in Jernigan and Cox, and I think it's a really, really, really nice time to be an Eagles fan. Not so much a nice time to be a Giants, Redskins, or Cowboys quarterback, though, so we'll see about that. And now, my boy Kevin, his handle is too fuggin' tall because he is a very tall guy. He says, who's going to step up in place of Darby? Do you trust Douglas? Now, that's a really good question, and a good question to end on, because that's probably the hottest question and the most important facet of the secondary in this defense right now is with the loss of Ronald Darby, who's your best speed corner for the next month and a half. Who steps up? And you have a rookie in Rasul Douglas, you have Jalen Mills, you have Patrick Robinson, and then you have Dexter McDougal, and then you have Jalen Watkins. So those are your guys that are most likely in line to get snaps at corner. Also, you can bring Malcolm Jenkins down when Corey Graham's in, or bring Corey Graham down. They can cover, tight ends and things like that. So you have a lot of versatility there, but you have a lot of guys that have to prove themselves at cornerback. But I think that every time you hear one of those young cornerbacks talk, they reference how, when reporters ask, you guys are all young, how are you learning about, like, who are you learning from? Like, what do you, are you teaching each other things? And they always refer to Malcolm and Rodney, and those are the 2 safeties, Rodney McLeod, Malcolm Jenkins, and obviously, and they're the veteran guys in the group that are teaching these young guys, okay, look, like this is how it is. And Malcolm Jenkins is a former corner. They also have Patrick Robinson, who's a veteran guy. They have Corey Unlin, who's a veteran defensive backs coach, and then they have some of the best talent from the last couple of drafts, and Ronald Darby, who was a second-round pick, and Sidney Jones, who's not even on the field yet, but he was a first-round projection, probably would have been a top 15 pick had he not been injured. Maybe 100% a top 20 pick had he not been injured. Now, if he can't return, then it's justified. But if he returns to full form, they have some really top-end talent in Ronald Darby and Sidney Jones, who are 2 second-round picks in the NFL draft. So you pair that with those safeties plus a guy in Jalen Mills who seems to be kind of one of those guys that just he doesn't always look great. He gets beat, but for some reason he makes these like plays that make up for it, like some way somehow, like the break up on Pryor in the end zone and then the interception that found his arms. He's just gonna, if he's the guy that can kind of just be in position to make big plays, like clutch plays and then why, he doesn't need to be perfect. He's not going to be perfect, but if he can at least give you something. Now, he contributed to these wins, so that's my thoughts on the corners. He contributed to the win in Washington, and that's my thoughts on the corners as they stand now. But without, obviously without Ronald Darby and Sidney Jones, who are the top end guys you have to get by with Rasul Douglas and Jalen Mills, and I think it'll be beneficial to have them get reps. McDougal see some slot time, and Patrick Robinson, who played really well on Sunday, surprisingly, where a lot of people wrote him off because of training camp, played well in the preseason and now played well in the regular season for week 1. So, we'll see what happens there. I think that these guys are going to struggle without Jones and Darby, but when they come back, this is going to be a strong secondary, and it has the potential to be a really strong secondary moving forward. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see, what happens. And in a passing league, you need a lot of good DBs. You need guys like Jalen Mills, who might not be perfect, but can make plays. You're going to have guys rotating in and out. It's tough. You have to cover the pass, and that's something that I think a lot of people really overlook, is having depth and developing it, and not just having bodies, but having guys that come in and contribute. So guys like Jalen Mills and Dexter McDougal even. Jalen Watkins is a guy we've been developing for a couple years now, since the Chip Kelly era. So we have these guys primed, and we're trying to groom them even more, and all as a group. And, by the time everyone's, hitting their prime, they'll be ready to go. So, that's kind of how it goes right now. Tough to see the injuries, but these guys are going to get these reps, and they're going to do the most with it. So that's kind of going to do it. Views from the Link TV. I'm signing off. Kansas City, it's going to be a very tough game. And, before the season I predicted a loss, but I never go into a game thinking the Eagles are going to lose. I'm going to go into it thinking, this is going to be a win. Get to Alex Smith. Cover the speed downfield. Limit Tyreek Hill. You can't really completely stop him, especially without your top corners. But you need to somewhat limit his production and not let him just blaze you away and be the difference. And also Kareem Hunt, good rookie that came out and played really well. So they've had extra rest as well. So our first test of the season was the Redskins on the road. We aced that. Now, time to see the second big test of the season, and we'll keep getting tested all year, because the Giants are a good team as well, and they want to get the monkey off their back. They've been dominated by us, and that's week 3, and then you keep going. You go week 4 is the Chargers, I believe, and then week 5 is Arizona. So these are some good teams you got, and that's what the NFL is. So got a lot to look forward to, but right now the test is Kansas City. I can't wait to watch how they play. I can't wait to see how Wentz responds to having a big game and all the spotlight on him again and all that, and just all the spotlight on him all the time. And I love seeing how he comes out every week. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Fly, Eagles, fly.